Welcome to, and we're back. What's up, dude?
Let's pot about it.
I
Is that the new song?
like it. Let's pot about it. Bob and Weave with Rob and Steve.
Sponsored by Strive Academy, Vera Development, and Rob, your lender.
That's right. Big time sponsors.
Oh, yeah.
Cool, man. Boy,
What's going on in Boise?
another day, another dollar. Well, I can't decide if it wants to be rainy or sunny. It keeps going back and forth today. It was like 70 degrees all last week, and now it's back to 50 this week. So all the plants outside, or all the veggies Elena planted, are dying.
It's cooking down here. It's a warm one, and I'm wearing black.
Oh, good call. Hey, at least you're not sitting out in the sun, though. What's the temp?
Yeah. It says it's only 70, but it feels like 75.
Wow.
And that's too warm. We want it in between 69 and 73. Otherwise, we're uncomfortable.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I love this time of year, dude. I put a hoodie on and I turn the heat off whenever Elena's not looking, and I just sit in comfort. I just love it being like 55 in the house.
55? Did you just say those words? Those numbers?
Yeah, I mean, with a hoodie on, that's pretty comfortable. So I'll throw a beanie on at 55. It's not like I'm setting the air conditioning. It's just like I'm just not running the heat at all until it gets like below that.
Run your house natty.
Mm-hmm. Dude, it's pretty crazy. This house, like, it does not leak any air at all. New
Nice windows.
Yeah, I think they were all replaced like 5 years ago on the house, and like sometimes you wake up in the morning and there's like fog on the inside of the windows, like moisture can't even get out. Probably a problem. Yeah. But
we replaced the windows in our bedroom because they were like from when the place was built in the 70s, and ever since we replaced them, we noticed it's like it either gets too hot or too cold. The air doesn't come in and out at all.
Yeah.
So we've actually, now that we have new windows, we leave the window open a little bit.
Yeah. It's funny you say that too. When we were building this addition on our house, we had like two inspectors that had conflicting opinions, right? It was like the energy guy wanted it to be like energy compliant, so we had to buy these, specific windows. But then they come and they do and they do the air test, right? Like they pressure test how much air gets out and in. But then also there's the inspector who's like, hey, your bathroom exhaust fan isn't like pushing enough air. And it's like, well, yeah, because air, like, what's it gonna suck, out? If there's no like air replacing it, you have to like open a window in the other room to let the air flow through the fan. So like you can only pass one of those tests, right? I can't pass them both. So they just like sign off on it.
Have negative air pressure in your house if you don't open a window.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Well, how are you?
With the bathroom, I just replaced the fan as well. They said that was one of the things we had to do because we had potential mold in there. So you got to replace your fans.
Yeah. Luckily those.
Mold.
Oh yeah, moldy. So what's up with your moles, dude? You got some moles?
Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning. Back when I was 15 years old, maybe 16. Do you remember when we were lifeguards? The first day of summer, we would want to have our sandal tans because those were cool.
Yeah.
And the way to get your best tan was to just get absolutely roasted the first week of summer.
Yeah. So smart.
And so we would just not wear any sunscreen for the first week, and then we didn't have to wear sunscreen for the rest of the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my game plan for probably, 3 or 4 years of summer. And now I go to my doctor and he tells me, hey, you have some moles and you get looked at by a dermatologist. All right, whatever. I'll just go get them scraped off and removed and I'll be fine. So I get them scraped off. And then like 3 weeks later, they come back and tell me that they're mild to moderate, which means that they're not cancer, but they have the potential to turn into cancer. So like, well, we better, even though they've already been scraped off like superficially with a knife, they said, well, we better do some surgery and open you up a little bit and take the mole out, and then we'll go from there. And so I'm like, all right, fine, I'll come back. By the way, this office is miserable to deal with. If you show up 30 minutes early, you're going to wait 30 minutes. If you show up on time, you're waiting 30 minutes. If you show up 10 minutes late, you're waiting 30 minutes. It's terrible. And there's nobody there. Like, they act like they're busy, but it's because they have like two doctors and like 12 assistants, and the assistants just stand around like, I don't know what to do. Anyway,
Brutal.
so I go in to get my little surgery done, and so it's a mole about the size of my fingernail. So just, if you can, that big. It's a pretty big mole. And I'm like, okay, so they'll probably do, I don't know, like half an inch around that and cut that out. I come out, and it was on my chest. And I look at it and I say, whoa, that's a much bigger, larger amount of stitches than I was explaining. And her immediate react, this is like right after surgery. I don't like to look at myself get cut. So I'm like looking away. She says, we're all done. I look down. And oh, that's a bigger cut. And she goes, yeah, it was a big mole. And I was like, all right, give me my shirt and let's go home. And so I like thinking about this, and I count, and there's 9 stitches on my chest. I had 6 for my Achilles, and I'm just, what the heck is going on? And so I start doing research like one does. I go on YouTube, and they say, yeah, you do about 5 millimeters around in a circle, and it comes out like mine should have been 2, maybe 3 stitches is what I'm looking at. And so I I'm just like, all right, what's done is done. I can't uncut my body. So we're just going to live with it now. But I have another one on my back that they wanted to remove as well. And so I'm thinking, okay, do I tell these people that I don't want to have this done? Or do I just go in there and tell them, hey, you guys did way too big of a cut for how big of a mole it was, and we're just going to do a smaller one. So since I already had the appointment in there, it was Thursday, one mole, next Thursday, the other mole. They wouldn't let me do both at one time, which is annoying because now I'm like restricted to gym and I'm going to lose my gains and stuff. I'm pretty frustrated about that. And so I go back the next week and I make a comment before we even start. I was like, hey, like, we made a much bigger cut than I was expecting on this, and I really don't think we needed to do that. I get you guys you're being proactive, trying to make sure you get 100% of it, but like the cut they made is as big as my finger.
Yeah.
The mole's as big as my fingernail.
Yeah.
So like, it, I don't understand what world does that make sense? You need a 5-inch cut for a half-inch mole.
Yeah.
And so I make a comment like, hey, like, you guys made a much bigger cut. Can we do a smaller one this one? And she's like, oh, did we do a little bit too big? I was like, yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I know I'm not the dermatologist here, but I contacted my friend from USC who's a dermatologist, and she was like, and she said, yeah, that's a bigger cut than I would have done. And I was like, if I thought someone was really prone to melanoma or cancer, I would have asked him, is it okay if we clean this all up right now? But I would have asked him first, because that's a much bigger cut than I would have done. And I was like, okay, so they're in the wrong. And I tell them like, hey, I want a smaller cut. The one we did on here was too big. You know, I think this one on my back is a little bit smaller. It's relatively the same size. And she's like, okay, I think we'll get away with a smaller cut on this one. But at the same time, she's the same doctor who did surgery on me last week, and she's asking, why did we do such a big cut? And I was like, I don't know. You did it. Like, you're the one who was in the room with me and sliced my chest open, like an
Yeah.
open heart surgery. And she doesn't recall why she did such a large cut. And so I get out of the second surgery. This was last Thursday, so like a week and a few days ago. And I say, okay, cool. I can't see what she's doing. So even if I wanted to look, I couldn't. And I say, how many stitches did we get away with? And she goes, oh, not too many, just only 7. Well, you know what? I better get a few more in there. We end up with 10 stitches on my back.
What?
Ugh.
Oh my
So now
God.
I'm looking like Frankenstein walking around with my shirt off.
You gotta send me a picture of this, dude.
And while I was in there I forgot to mention, when I was in there for the first one, they found 2 more moles. Like, oh yeah, we should scrape these off too. And so it's just like, the first time I walk out there, I got a new 4-inch cut in my chest and 2 other boo-boos around my body that I'm bleeding on. And they tried it. And when I went in for the second one, they said, oh, we should check these moles out too. Can we scrape these off? And I said, no. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm tired of you cutting me. Like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. Time to go to a new
And
doctor.
yeah, and they were much smaller. And so now that, like, after I found out how big they did this one, I'm kind of like, I'm having Nicole bring home suture removers to get rid of the stuff. We did this one yesterday, so I'm unsutured on the front. Got to wait a few more days on the back. But yeah, I'm zipped up right now because of 2 mistakes I've made when I was a child.
Wow. Wow. That is crazy, dude. You should look on their Yelp reviews or whatever to see if other people are saying the same thing. And that's wild. Yeah, you might want to
Oh, bro,
find a new
I
doc.
looked them up on Yelp before my first surgery because it was my third visit there. Because the first one was to get the scrapes off. Second one was to schedule get the results and schedule a surgery. And the third one is I'm just like, this is crazy. Like there's nobody in this office. And why am I sitting in the waiting room for 30 minutes? And so I wrote like 2 paragraphs on Yelp, 1-star review. I looked on some other stuff and it's a mixed bag. It's not like there's zero. There's some people that are good, some people that are bad, but like my experience has been all bad with them.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Man, well, is the doctor like a super old person?
No, super young.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's probably, I don't know, probably 30. But she's also a PA. So I saw the doctor my first visit there, and that's who did the initial scrape and consult. And now it was a PA, which is a physician's assistant. So basically a doctor, but they can't like prescribe meds or something like that.
Yep.
I don't know exactly, but yeah. So she was the one who was doing it. So I'm guessing she's like right out of PA school and knows how to do this stuff. And I don't know.
Yeah, I know a few PAs, and they're all super proficient. Like they know as much as a doctor. But yeah, I think that's the one differentiator is they just don't prescribe anything. But I mean, that's super whack that they just 10 stitches on your back for I don't even understand that. When I had mine removed, I was only one of them, and they didn't do like a linear slice on it at all. It was like
Yeah, you would think it would be like a circle.
they dug it out. Yeah, they like dug it out, but it also wasn't like very big at all. It was like, I don't know, the size of a like the tip of a corn kernel, like real small, like maybe a couple of millimeters.
Love it. The tip of a corn kernel.
I don't know. I had corn on the side for lunch, and that's the first thing that came to my head. Oh, what the fuck is happening? Um, I almost said pencil eraser, but like even that's too big. It was like, I don't know, a half or quarter size of a pencil eraser, and
Okay.
in terms of diameter. But like, yeah, I didn't have stitches or anything. That's so wild that they just like slice it linear to cut it out and then stitch it together. I mean, are
The
they?
only thing I can think of is that if they wanted to do this much higher, and then when they do it this way, it makes a cleaner heel if you have it felt like that. Otherwise, you kind of have a hole and like which way
Yeah,
does it pull on type thing. So I kind of understand from that point, but I still feel like that's way too long.
yeah, yeah. I definitely have a hole in mine, and my guy was super old, like about to retire, like 80. So maybe he just didn't do it right either, because I still have like a circle scar. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I,
that's it. Never going to the dermatologist again.
yeah, yeah. Oh, good call. That's definitely the thing to learn from this. That is so funny, dude. I forgot that we used to love flip flop tans, and that's so funny to me because even now, like I'm always joking around about it at home, but I love to get flip flop tans and tank top tans at home, and of course Elena hates that and hates that I think it's so funny.
Looking real trashy.
Yeah, but dude, I used to be in San Diego and I used to trail run all the time. I hate it when sweat gets in my eyes, especially when I used to wear contacts. And so I would hats just weren't enough. So I would wear bandanas because they could soak up sweat like even more from like a bald head guy that it's just all going down. And
Mm.
I would get bandana tans, and my boss at work like hated it. I mean, he like thought it was funny, but like he couldn't tell me that out loud. He's like, Pendo, you got another bandana tan going on. Do you have some big race this weekend? You know, on Monday? I'd be like, sorry.
You
But
weren't
yeah.
like customer facing though, were you in your role?
Oh yeah. Like hundreds
Oh,
of
you
people
were.
a week. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Lots of
yeah.
people. But Mondays were always like a little slower. I had most of my meetings on like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Monday and Tuesday was like info gathering, and like so I didn't see that many people unless it was like a one-off meeting. But I worked in an office that had 300 people in it in one building. Um, so like they would see me, but they weren't all the customer. Most of them weren't. And by Tuesday, it would kind of even out, especially because I was walking outside a lot. And by the way, I cut my hair again, dude.
Yeah, looks good.
Thanks.
Nice and round.
Yeah. Yeah. I got one of those little rollers that brings your hairline back.
Ah, does it? I don't think those work as well as advertised, but they definitely
Yeah.
do something.
It was $5. So a
Yeah.
lot, definitely worth it. Cheaper than a $15,000 hair plug surgery and definitely cheaper than medicine every month. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, didn't you used to do the drops?
No, I did, uh, what's that? ProScar. It's Propecia basically. It's the same thing as Propecia, just a different dose. And then you like slice the pill. It's just way cheaper.
So it's a
The
pill.
Yeah. Propecia is a pill. This is actually kind of interesting science. Propecia, Proscar was the first medicine, and it's for prostate health for older guys. But one of the side effects is hair growth on the top of your head and on your bald spots. So they found that, um, oh wow, if we decrease the dose a little bit, it still has the side effect. So Propecia is just 1/5 the amount, or 1/4 the amount as Proscar.
Oh,
So
interesting.
you can basically just buy Proscar for like $10 for a bottle of 30 of them and cut them into fourths. Or you can pay, buy Propecia, which is like $50 a bottle and lasts you 1 month. But the Proscar, it's like 10, $15 with insurance, and it lasts 4 months. So I would do that. I did that in college, and then I started to see some guys had libido and fertility side effects, and I just figured that wasn't worth it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Then I had a kid, and I was like, well, I guess I'm getting back on it. guess I had no issues with it, and um, but I stopped again because I was like, well, whatever, it's not even worth it. Just gonna let
Yeah.
it go. I kind of like shaving my
Yeah.
head.
I mean, I feel like I'm getting close to the awkward stage. Like I've got a lot of forehead, and like my hair used to be like right around here. I
Mhm.
definitely didn't have a gap like that, so it's starting to go. And I've from my barber told me that my hair is thinner than my father's, so that's not good.
You go to the same barber as your dad?
We did for a while, yeah. I went to a different one now, but when we did, I asked her. I have more hair, but I have thinner hair. His hair's thicker than mine. Like he's strong.
Interesting. That's pretty badass to go to the same barber as your pops. That's pretty cool, man. Um,
Yeah, but it's going. So I mean, I feel like maybe a few years from now, I'm gonna have to start, thinking about shaving, or I'm gonna have an old guy haircut.
yeah. Have you seen that trend on Instagram for guys with the receding hairline, the cut that they're doing? Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, my hair's too thin for that. I can't even do it. It would
The
freaking
the messy look kind of going forward?
it would like fall out, and there's not enough of it to even
Huh.
like cover. I would have to grow it, dude. That's probably like 2 months of hair to get me down here.
Yeah,
And
you'd have to grow it out.
if I curled it, it'd probably be have to go down like here. So that's probably like 4 or 5 months of hair.
Huh. Dude, you probably like this. I don't know if I've told you this, but when I first moved to Boise, I joined this barbershop that had it had 3 locations here in Boise, and it wasn't, you didn't pay by the haircut like normal places. You paid the subscription, and it started at $25 a month when I first signed up, and you can go every day if you wanted. You had an app, and you just reserve a time with a certain barber. Even you can even pick your barber, and you basically, you tip them every time, but like it ended up being like 40 or $45 a month, but they closed. They like sold to a new owner, and then that new owner somehow just ran it into the ground in like 6 months, and
So
they closed them all.
the place I go now is kind of tech-ish. So what they do is they're called dank cuts. And so what they do is after your haircut, they take a picture of your front, back, side, and you can kind of tell them, hey, this is what I liked last time. Because that was one thing. Like I would always sit in the chair and they're like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "I don't know, just make it shorter." Like,
Yeah, yeah.
And so now they have like a system to identify like, okay, this type of fade means this on the clippers or this length on top. And I can say last time it was like a little bit too short on top, let's change it to a little bit longer. And so I don't, or I can just go in there and say, yeah, last cut is last time. Doesn't matter what barber I go to. They have like a whole picture system and like grading system, and everybody has the same clippers. Um, so it's kind of cool to go in there and just be like, yeah, go ahead, do the thing. See ya.
That's sick. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Do they give you a
I had
beer too?
Yeah, they do, but I always feel like that was weird to have a beer while you got your hair cut, because wouldn't your hair fall on your beer?
Usually they give you a can right when you got in. Like when you walked in, they would ask if you want it, and you'd be like, "Yeah." And you just learned, I'm just going to show up 10 minutes early so that I can chug my beer before my haircut.
So just to try and get a little buzz before you get your hair cut.
Honestly, yeah. And then I started scheduling my haircut every Friday at 5 p.m. So
Ah,
I'd show up at 4:45, have a beer, and then go straight to where I was going. Usually like a
that's
happy
kind
hour.
of cool. So my dad's got he was excited about it. Told me about this last time he was here. Now he's in the mountains. There's a group of dudes that go meet at the barber every third Thursday, and they hang out for like 2 hours and drink whiskey. Like,
That is sick,
I
dude.
know,
We got to start hanging out with your dad more. Oh my god, he's doing the coolest shit. So,
I know.
so they're in Lake Arrowhead now, right? Isn't that what you said?
Yep, yep. Not too far from Big Bear.
Awesome. What took them up there again? I forget. Job
Uh, how you got a new job at the country club?
up there. Cool.
Yeah,
And
Lake Arrowhead Country Club.
and I assume they're closed in the wintertime though, right? So they do other stuff during that time period.
That was kind of a big thing for her because I mean, she's never like in Hilton Head where she had her first head pro job. They had like a tourist season and a non-tourist season. It was a tourist city, so it was a really slow off season. It wasn't closed though, but I remember there was times where I would go play, and like there was nobody at the course after 2:30 because everybody would just come do their morning rounds and then they would go home. But in California, like especially since COVID happened, it was golf from sunup to sundown, and people would push it both ways. Like they would tee off just before sunrise to get the round in, and they'd try and squeeze in the last few holes just until they couldn't see anymore. Um, and it was year round. It was 365 days. I think they closed like 2 days out of the year for club events, and so it's just exhausting. Um, and so that was kind of a big thing that she now gets some time off. The first year is always going to be more difficult to try and get things how she wants them, but I mean, once she's kind of humming along, she's going to have a few months off of the year just because nobody's playing golf when it's 20 degrees or when there's 8 inches of snow on the ground.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, that's such a cool thing to have that in the family too. I don't know, just the tradition of golf, and you guys are all good. Um, just how you kick you and your dad's ass.
I think it depends because like golf is very I don't not cyclical, but it's in waves. So like if you're playing really good golf, like that's when you see like on tour somebody's gonna win like 3 tournaments in a row, or like when Brooks Koepka was on, he was on for like 6 months and then he just kind of fell off, and that's kind of how it works. So it's like you can have everything going and have your swing really clicking, and you'll be unstoppable for 4 or 5 months, and so like you'll talk to him and you'll know who's kind of hitting and who's not. Um, but I would say it goes back and forth because sometimes Heidi's kicking his butt and sometimes he's kicking her butt.
Mm. Where do you fall into that? Have you played with them?
I'm still terrible. So
Mm.
compared to them, at least, I like of the average handicaps in the world, I'm just above average. But I also haven't played golf in probably 6 or 7 months, and I've like thought about golf like in general, and I'm kind of anti golf.
Tell me more about that.
It takes so much time.
Yeah.
I would say, especially in Southern California, it takes like probably 6 hours to get around in, and then you're expected to hang out for an hour or two afterwards. And of course, you want to show up half an hour to hit some balls so your first tee shot doesn't go into 3 fairways over. Um, so it's like it's an entire day thing. It's wild. I would rather go do 4 other things than play one round of golf.
Yeah. Have you seen those guys that do speed golf?
Yeah, I've seen some videos of that.
That looks pretty fun. It's more of like
Not,
running than golfing.
yeah, but you got to be really good to do that too,
Oh, I
because
bet.
I'll lose probably 7 or 8 balls around, and so like if you're searching for your ball, you're gonna take an extra 3 minutes on a hole, and that's if you're not waiting for the person in front of you, which you always are around here.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'll bet some of those shots, like it's the ball still rolling when he gets up to it, like on like a 9 iron or something.
yeah. There was one from Barstool where I guess it was some hole where some guy broke a record, uh, and it was literally he carried 3 clubs with him. He knew exactly what it was going to be. It was like the driver, the 8 iron, and the putter, and he like hit the driver, left it there, went and grabbed the 8 iron and putter, ran to his ball, hit the 8 iron, and then went up there and 2 putt, and he did it all in less than a minute on one hole or something like that.
Yeah, it's
I'd
nuts.
be super down to play golf if I could get around it in under 2 hours, but it's just not possible.
Yeah. Do you remember that place in Indy growing up? It was called Riverside, and it was a par three course, but some of them were like 220 yards. Like two of the holes were long, but most of the holes were like between 60 and 110 yards.
Yeah.
I really liked that course growing up, and me and my stepdad would go there and we'd play 18 holes in like an hour and a half, and I was like 12.
Yeah, we got one of those around here, but I mean, it's the same issue where it's just stacked with people. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I would say that it's less time, but it still probably takes 3 to 4 hours to get that. It's called an executive course when it has some uh, par fours. They call them executive courses.
I get it because
Yeah,
it's for executives who want to play shorter.
I I'd never bridge that gap, but maybe.
All
All
right.
right. Well, yeah. I hope my dad doesn't listen to this podcast.
I hope he does. I think he'll get some laughs.
Yeah, I think he'll just be disappointed because I mean he loved golf from such a young age, and it's been a huge part of his life ever since. And to hear me say something like anti golf, I don't know.
Have you heard that podcast by Malcolm Gladwell where he talks about why he's anti golf?
No, I haven't.
I'm gonna butcher this, but the gist of it is that golf courses in LA County still have a tax exemption on property tax. So, like, if they were to pay the same percentage of property tax as like the neighboring houses to the land, it'd be like billions or something of dollars per year, and it wouldn't be sustainable for them to have a golf course. And he thinks it's unfair of them to be a for-profit business that has a tax exemption like that because it's not a public service, it's not a park. You have to pay to go in there or be a member like a country club. So he thinks that it's the one in LA is like 100 or something acres or 250 acres that could all be affordable housing. You could fit thousands of units, thousands of housing units. So that's kind of his point.
That's interesting. I didn't know. I mean, huh? I don't know the commercial property tax laws in California, but I know like when you buy a house in California, whenever you buy the property, that's what the property taxes are.
Yep.
They don't really go up from there. So like, there's people who have bought these beachfront properties in Newport, uh, you know, 50 years ago, and they're paying $2,000 a year in taxes. Where if the house right next to them was sold the year prior, they're paying $30,000 a year in taxes.
Mm-hmm.
It, sometimes there's not really much of a difference to the house except for the year they bought it. But I don't know. It's interesting about the taxes for the golf course because what if it was owned like it was bought 100 years ago and they're paying property taxes based on when the golf course was bought?
Yeah, that could be it. That could be it. But I haven't listened to it in years, so I don't remember the specifics. But they do have some kind of specific exemption for the golf courses, including country clubs. It's like written into the property tax code, and kind of makes sense because a lot of people who sit on the committees and such and politics. I mean, they all belong to those country clubs. That's where they all do their backdoor deals and stuff. So
I remember seeing like I was probably on Instagram or Reddit or something, but that Trump had buried somebody. I don't remember who it was.
his wife, his ex-wife.
His ex-wife on a golf course. So it was a cemetery, so it would be exempt from certain property taxes.
Yep. Oh, 100%. Yeah, he had his wife buried at Mar-a-Lago.
So that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Truth.
Yeah, that's true. I looked at that one up when I saw that too. That's true.
Interesting.
Genius. So yeah,
That kind of parlays into one of our topics is the election. I think the reason it's this year. Did you know?
yeah, can't wait.
Yeah. So I mean, the reason that I've kind of been thinking about it recently is because there was this thing that popped up on my Instagram called "Represent Us." Have you seen that?
Yeah, I used to donate to them.
Really? So
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was just super suspicious that in an election year, like things are just starting to heat up. All of a sudden, Represent Us comes out and they're a big player. And I remember there's all this stuff that will come out during election year that, like, it's for a good cause and it gets you riled up and it gets you motivated and you want to participate. But then you find out that it's actually got some kind of political affiliation and they're backed by, this party or that party. Um, and
Yep.
so it's really hard for me, like I listened to the video and heard their message and I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I think. Like, yes, politicians are greedy and they don't represent what I want. The representative that I want is not going to be on the ballot this year. And I'm not sure I could say, because and ever that there's been a representative that I would have handpicked and put on the ballot. But they're picked for us, and the electoral college picks who they want based on what they think other people want. And then these crazy county maps of where elections are done and stuff. Like, I agree with everything they're saying, but it's just why is it getting promoted so heavily during an election year? This doesn't have to do with the election. This has to do with politics as a whole.
In
So why
policy, yeah.
Right. So this should be promoted whenever it can be promoted and when people are going to listen. But the fact that it's done, in May of an election year makes me think, okay, there's something going on here. And I'm just kind of like hands off. I don't want to think about it or deal with it. And there's been plenty of other organizations that do that. They'll be very prominent during an election year just to try and distract you from something else that's going on. And I would say most of the time it's whoever's currently the party in charge is trying to get something done before they're out of office, and they're putting up some propaganda or distraction so that we're not paying attention to it. Like the whole TikTok ban bill, like they threw it in there with funding a war. So it was, a bill about funding wars that was going to be very profitable for the US, but also you can't pass it unless you pass a TikTok ban. And that's kind of how things get done. But I don't know, it's for me, the thing I'm that it kind of turned the gears in my mind was, all right, it's officially an election year. There's going to be some crap out there that I need to ignore, and that's kind of what I'm taking away from it.
What is their big push right now? I used to get their emails and like watch their YouTube videos, but I just kind of started, I don't know, getting a little bit separated from what I found to be important and what they were kind of platforming. But what are they doing now? Are they pushing ads on Instagram, and what's kind of their platform right now? What are
I
they
mean,
talking about?
I don't know their marketing strategy, but it showed up on my TikTok page, so it's like
I see.
they're doing something to make it show up now. And I don't. The thing I saw was like a video with Jennifer Lawrence explaining what the whole company's about. I don't know when that was recorded or when it was put out, but
Yeah, that's
it's
old.
it's getting promoted now.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe they're trying to capitalize on people's interest due to the timing, but yeah, I don't know. It's we're at this weird time in our lives right now where we're both almost 35, and um we both own our own businesses now, and that's kind of new to you and me both, right? We were W-2 or worked for an employer up until like 2 years ago. So the last election cycle, we were still employed.
Right.
Um, and 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 there's so much going on right now, out social issues that change is happening a lot faster right now than it usually does. So I think we're going through, like, as a society, something right now where people our age, or like maybe even as young as 25 if they're entrepreneurial or financially literate, upwards of like 45 who are kind of moving towards a more conservative base. And I talk with my brothers about this almost every day because they're 10 years younger than me, and they're both, one of them's employed and one of them wishes he was getting unemployment checks still, right? So it's like so it's, I don't know, man, it's just it's an interesting time to be a voter for people in our demographic, because I don't know, there's just a shift kind of happening both ways. I think some people are getting much more liberal. The divide is getting wider, and a lot of people are switching sides of the fence, or
Yeah.
deciding a side if they were on the fence before.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the two-party system and what it does and how it kind of can create this, and I understand adding a third party won't make a difference until that third party beats both other parties. So it's just not really sustainable. But it's super polarizing. And so if you were to tell somebody you're a Democrat or Republican, they automatically think 100 things about you. And me being a white middle class male automatically puts me in a bucket, and
Yep.
that bucket mostly happens to be true. But it's not like I don't register as a Republican. I don't donate to any Republican candidate. I just tend to agree with some of the policies that the Republicans put out. There's also policies that I agree that Democrats put out.
Mm-hmm.
But
Same.
as soon as you tell people that you are likely going to vote, more likely to vote for a Republican candidate than a Democratic candidate, it's crazy the amount of stuff that comes at you.
Yeah. Yeah. The amount of hate for just voicing your opinion is crazy, even like intra family, you know? It's like so normalized to attack a person rather than, if it seems like the right thing to do when you voice an opinion would be to expect in return people voicing their opinions back. But I feel like it's getting normalized to just attack that person's character and insult them
I got
rather,
enough of this.
it's like it just silences the conversations.
So I was trying to have a respectful conversation with a friend who seemed to be well educated on this stuff. It was about the whole thing that's going on in Palestine and
Mhm.
Israel. And so like I told him like, hey, last time I heard, I thought that it was still like kind of up for debate about who was in the wrong here. Like Hamas is hiding in hospitals, so the Israeli army is bombing those hospitals after those people commit terrorist attacks, and then my friend goes, no, they're lying to you. That's not really what's going on. I was like, well, okay, you think the side that I'm listening to is lying. What makes you think that your side's not lying too? And then I got into the whole like the protests at the universities. He just completely blew it off. Like it never crossed his mind that both
Redirect.
sides might be lying. And
Yeah.
then we started talking about the protests at the universities and how USC is not going to have a graduation, or they weren't going to have a graduation because of these protests. I was like, what are they protesting? What side are they on? And he's like, what do you mean, what side are they on? And he was like, yeah, and police are just going up and just hitting these people and attacking them. I was like, I'm pretty sure people, like police officers, don't just walk up to peaceful protesters and attack them. And so his response to that was, "Oh, that's so cute. I wish I thought more like you did, and I thought police officers were good." And so it like I didn't think that was going to come out of his mouth, so it really caught me by surprise. But I'm just thinking like, okay, you couldn't win the argument, so you went after me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is people that are willing to insult you, are they also redirect a lot. They can never, like, if you ask them a question about their side, they usually can't explain it, and they redirect to why the other side is wrong. And we even see that in the presidential debates too.
Oh yeah,
Like there's never actual resolution, like in a true debate, like in debate class in high school or debate competitions in high school and college. You're debating a topic, sharing opinions or sharing facts and arguments, and then there's a score at the end of who proved their point better. But that never happens in these televised debates. It's all about ratings and shit, I think. I don't know, but there's never resolution, or like anybody who's able to make the points and then get like be able to be compelling and convincing on that their side is right. It's all about just attacking the other side. And I feel like that really empowers. I don't know if that's the causation of the behavior locally, but like that seems to compel people to do the same in day-to-day conversations where they don't actually address the issue. I've with my family especially, I've stopped telling people my opinion because then they just attack me. What I've started doing is I just ask them questions about their side, and I don't stop. I just never stop until they either stop
Are your
responding or
questions
they
kind
talk
of
about something
leading
else.
though?
Huh?
Like, do your questions kind of get to the point where you're kind of leading them to your side of the thought?
I try not to. I try not to. I try to honestly just get educated on their side, or at least glean the education that they have, and so that I can understand their point rather than argue about it because that's never going to go anywhere because they redirect and they insult. So I just ask questions about their side until they realize they don't know jack about what they're talking about and that they're just regurgitating whatever one-sided media that they're watching. So
I will say that's one thing that really frustrates me about, getting in any kind of heated argument with people, especially about politics, is that I am very open to being wrong.
me
In
too.
fact, I will be the first one to tell you that I don't know anything about politics. Everything I know is probably from social media, and then I tried to verify it somewhere else. And so I probably do have a skewed point of view. But I'm also just as sure as I am that I don't know anything, I'm pretty sure that you don't either. And that's the thing that people aren't open to, being like, there might be something that I think I know that's incorrect. And if you think about things like as simple as the food pyramid, that was fact 20
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Like
Still
that,
is
there was
technically.
right there was nobody on the planet that said, "Oh yeah, this food triangle is not good. We shouldn't do this." It was just that's what came out, and that was fact. And now we've disproven that, and it's not how people should eat. So something that simple that we thought was absolutely true is now wrong. I think that there's almost nothing out there that should be considered 100% true. Like there's always going to be gray areas to it. I think a lot of people aren't open to, like, a previous thought they had and changing their mind onto something else. So that's why it's kind of pointless to try and debate with a lot of people, is that it doesn't matter what you tell them, they're never going to change their mind because they believe that they're right, even though
Yep.
they could be wrong.
Dude, I just listened to a podcast where the guy that was being interviewed is like the leading guy on, claiming that the moon landing was faked. And first of all, I've been convinced of that a long time. I'll just come out and say it publicly. I do not think we landed on the moon. I think it's completely
It's pretty
fake.
sus. I will say that. I don't know. I'm not convinced, but it's sus. Like,
But that guy made a good point that I thought was transferable, and especially to this conversation is that like usually the most usually the easier thing to do is the truth, or like the thing that's like more likely to have happened tends to be the truth. And he was saying that that's the case of the moon landing. The fact, like, objectively, it would be easier to record it in a basement than it would be to actually go to the moon. So chances are, typically, statistically speaking, that would mean that the easier thing was actually the truth. And he said that he made a great point that you know all of the beliefs of the general public about the moon landing are all self-policed, and they just set the tone from the 60s is if you think it was faked, you're a fool. And obviously the intelligent people think that it was really done. So that's just because of people are so worried of what other people think of them.
we
It's
now
all
have a term for that now. It's called gaslighting.
yeah, yes, exactly. So it's all yeah, you get my point.
Yeah.
But the same kind of thing in politics is my point, right? It's like these people just have it set in their mind that this is the right thing. If you don't believe it, you're a fool, and then that becomes the basis of the argument, and it just that's what the elites want, is us to be stuck in
And
this.
I think, and divided is the most important one.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the one thing I wish both sides would think of is I think that, when someone looks at somebody on the other side of the fence, they think, oh, that person doesn't care about people. And then they think about my people. And I think on both sides of the fence, everybody cares about people. It's just a different way of viewing how we take care of those people. So think of it this way. Um, People don't like that the government doesn't spend their resources to help citizens. So Democrats want the government to spend money on things that will help them, like free healthcare, free student loans. The people on the right side of the fence say stop giving the government money.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Because they're
We're
wasting
just
it.
going at it from different ways.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
And I gotta admit too that I'm not perfect. Like that new capital gains tax law that Biden just signed. Um, my reaction immediately was, "Oh my god, I'm in real estate now. Every property I'm gonna, where if I made 100 grand, I was gonna have to pay 20 in taxes. Now it's gonna be 46% that I'm gonna have to pay in taxes. Like, oh man." And my brother sent me a screenshot of the fine print of that bill, and it's super clear. It only applies to people who have a net annual income of 400 grand per year averaged out over the last two tax filings, and people who have a net worth of more than two, I think it's 2 or 5 like $1 million. So, okay, maybe I don't really care about that because two reasons. Like, number one is I'm not going to be making 400 grand a year anytime soon. And by the time I am, I think that capital gain would be less important to me. But number two, if I'm ever filing taxes and showing that I made 400 grand 2 years in a row, I'm doing something very wrong with my
Is
investing
that yeah?
strategy.
Is that adjusted gross income too, or is it
Uh,
taxable income?
I'd have to double check, uh, but I'm sure the way around it for people who invest, right? That was
Yeah.
the kind of the gist of
That,
it that I
yeah.
got. So
So
it really applies.
my assumption is that it would be your after, like your taxable income. So after all your deductions, and yeah, if you've got 400K in after tax income, you probably don't care about a 10% hike. Like,
Well, and not only that, but you'd be buying real estate. So with that 400 grand in taxes, I would take 100. I mean, I'm sorry, with that 400 grand of income, if I were to make that, I would take 100 grand and I'd put it down in on a property or in a what's it called? It starts with the word SYN, syndicate, right? I'd put 100 grand into an investment, maybe a property, a 10 unit or something, so that I could depreciate it immediately and it'd be $1 million or $500,000, that asset, and I could offset my 400 grand of income completely. So
right.
what?
Yeah.
But I still have 300 grand that I actually have in my bank, right? But I've written off my entire income. Why wouldn't I be doing that if I'm a savvy investor, right? I should never be paying taxes.
Yeah. I'd, if I was in charge, taxes would be way simpler. It would just be like a flat 7% tax on every piece of income people get, including companies, no write offs. That's just what it is.
Yeah,
And then the IRS would probably be obliterated because they're worthless anyway.
yeah, they are.
And I don't really even like the tax bracket thing. Like it overcomplicates things. It should just be you make $1, you pay 7 cents. That
Yeah,
should be it.
yeah, and then maybe states could just have sales tax and that's it.
Right. Yeah. I think the states. I mean, I'm a believer of the states should have more power, and the federal government should just be to make sure we don't kill each other. But
Yeah, I like
it
that.
would be, it would be much easier to choose which laws you like. And oh, California doesn't like this. I'll just move to Arizona or whoever state has the laws I like. But if there's so much federal legislation now that it's difficult to do that.
Yeah, yeah. We also need to complete overhaul of our education system, and that's actually on my short list. That's something I want to research and get really in tune with because number one, I care because I have a kid. Number two, I like fixing things. Number three, I think there's going to be a lot of business opportunity in education over the next 10,
Private
10 years.
education.
Um, All the above, but yeah, I think a lot of people are waking up to the fact that you can get a little bit of refund on your state income tax if you homeschool. It's not an income tax refund. It's more like they will pay you a certain set amount. Each state's different, but Idaho, for example, I know a guy at my old workplace who has 4 kids, and his wife homeschools them, and they get $2,400 a month from the government. Um, so that
Is
pays
that
for
taxable income?
no.
So what does that work out to,
It's
like an
like
hourly rate?
it's like $600 per kid per month. So for them, it means a lot because they have 4 kids.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah, I've got
but
a cousin who's got 5, and she's homeschooling all of them.
yeah, in California.
In Washington.
Okay, another blue state. I mean, I'll bet you they have some good some good programs for that. But yeah, it might even be a reimbursement too. But I mean, you can show so much stuff as a reimbursement. You can renovate your house and to build, renovate a schoolroom type room, and that money goes towards that. You can, it covers the food, like the lunches. It covers books, activities, lesson plans,
Wow.
like anything you want, even some like utility bills too. Um, so yeah, dude, I think we're going to see a lot of people go that route because, or at least realize that public school is not working and prioritize the
Yeah.
private school as
I'm
a
I'm I didn't have the most fun in high school. So I've thought a lot about even before this whole education issues about, is homeschooling the right thing? And like, watching, what was that movie with Robin Williams, Jack, as a
Mhm.
kid. Um, I think that the social aspect of being around other people your age is so important. So that's why I'm really concerned about homeschooling, because you don't have the interaction with people outside your family unless you're doing sports, but even then it's pretty limited. Like, you need to be able to work on projects and have conversations about math and history and geography with other people your age to learn. I think the best way to learn is to teach, and so if you're forced to do a presentation, that's one way to do, probably the best way to do it. But I think the social aspect is so huge, and that's why I think schools have remained such the popular way to do it. um, and I don't know how you would replace that without sending your kid to school, unless you have maybe you homeschool 6 kids in the neighborhood out of your house, because maybe that would work better.
Mhm. There's actually a bunch of studies that have recently come out about this, and I've only been reading the headlines, honestly. But this is inspiring me to want to dig in a little more. But it's coming out that that homeschool kids that go to a normal school by junior high are actually equally as socialized. Um,
Oh, so yeah, just the early ages.
Right, the early ages, it's less of an impact. So,
Yeah.
but that with the caveat that you can't just homeschool your kids and never bring them around. But yes, involving them in sports with other kids, taking a lot of homeschool kids are done with classwork in 2 hours. So they start at 9 and they're finished by 11, which you can do if have 1-on-1 or 1-on-5 ratios, and they're even exceeding like reading levels of kids in school because there's so much wasted time. And so with
Trying to
the
get little
rest,
Jimmy to sit down
yeah,
instead of teaching. It ruins
exactly.
it for everybody. Yeah.
So with all that free time the rest of the day, they're doing activities that are social. So they're going to play dates, they're going to the gymboree thing, whatever, I don't know, the park, the zoo, and they're interacting that way, and they're interacting with adults more too. um, and that's a big thing that we miss in our culture here, that other, especially European countries, like there's none of this, oh, the whole weekend we're going to the kids museum and we're going to the kids like blue on ice, and like they don't do any of that crap there, dude. The kid does what the adults are doing, and they interact with all kinds of adults. They go to the coffee meetups, the mom's going to meet a friend, they go. So they get a ton of that exposure that way too. So they learn how to go to the restaurant and order a coffee, pay, and leave by the time they're 7. That's what Elena was doing when she was a kid.
Yeah. I kind of I'm buying into what you're saying about the homeschooling at a young age because you're not learning a whole bunch of social norms. Like, it's really hard to, embarrass the heck out of yourself as a first grader just because everybody's going to forget. Like,
Yeah,
but by the time you get to junior high, like, you need to be able to keep up with social norms and be able to communicate with other people. So, and they're considering, I know different schooling systems in different states have different definitions with junior highs. Are you saying seventh and eighth grade?
pretty
Sixth,
much.
seventh, eighth grade?
Hmm.
Okay, so up until like fifth grade, they're probably what, like 11 or
Yeah,
12,
yeah.
and then you send them off to. I mean, that makes sense.
I'll look at some of those studies and share them with you. I've been honestly focusing a lot on like more toddler learning, like self education right now because we're trying to implement a lot of that stuff, like the fewer toys and the like emotion recognition and affirmation, all that kind of stuff that's important at this age. So I've been focusing my research time on that. But one of the next things we're thinking about rolling out is a continuing education curriculum for homeschooling your kid once they're too old to come to Strive Academy every day. And
Do they have to get like certified by the state in order for it to count as homeschooling?
yeah. A parent would needs to do some training. I think it's all online though. These days, it's not super extensive. You don't have to like be a teacher, but you do. But I think the way that they test it is that you have to show that your kids have completed certain like activities and that are certain age levels, and they can test at the end of second grade, they have to be able to do a 2-page test that's super easy. It's like a joke how easy it is because the bar is so low because of what that public school has set.
Yeah, I remember when I switched to public school in high school, the standardized testing, it was much easier.
Yeah,
It was pretty wild, and there was kids who were failing.
yeah.
Like at
That,
the high school I went to, we had a 50% graduation rate. So from freshman to senior year, 50% of the kids didn't make it.
at North Central for real?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's wild.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember if it was actually that's what they consider like the pass rate, but I remember like the freshman class had 1,200, the graduating class was like 590.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's really bad. That school had some cool programs though. They had like the IB, the Indiana Baccalaureate for the smart kids, and then but they also had a bunch of trade vocational type stuff. Like they had a whole
A whole
car
separate
mechanic.
building. Yeah, a whole separate building for all the trade stuff, and that's where I took my radio TV class was back there.
Oh, cool. Nice. I always kind of wanted to take that mechanic course at North
Yeah.
Central. I probably
Be
would have done
so
that for fun.
useful. So useful right now.
Oh god, dude, yeah. Can you imagine? Somebody asked me the other day, what would you do if money wasn't an issue? Right? Like, what kind of things would you do? And I was like, well, I play sports all the time. I'd probably become a certified mechanic because I find it fun. Like, just to figure things out. But I don't have the foundation for it to be fun right now. But yeah, that was one of the things I said out of the blue.
Bro,
Never thought about it before.
I think I mentioned this in probably the second episode, but my favorite job was Five Guys, and so I would flip burgers. That's what I would do.
Really?
I would make cheeseburgers for people. Like that's it was a fun job.
You just made me think of two funny things. Number one, Rafi's mom just ordered a T-shirt that says, "My name is Bruh, formerly known as Mom," because he keeps calling her Bruh. Number two, did you know that Boise got an In-N-Out?
No. Oh wait, I
Yeah,
think you
dude.
did send me that. Yeah.
And they're building the second one. The first one is not convenient to my current home. It's convenient to my old home, like 10 minutes from my old home, but that means 22 minutes from here. So that's too far. But they're building one right next to the highway, not like 10 minutes from my house, easy drive. I'm pumped for that. The
Right.
lines have been crazy, dude.
They're always crazy.
No, I
It's
mean
never
like an hour wait, and they've been open for 3 months, and it's like an hour every day. They have 3 lines, and they everything's bigger in Idaho, like you remember parking lots in Indiana, right? Like wide
Yeah,
spaces and just
yeah,
massive. And like Keystone at the Crossing, that's like never was that parking lot filled.
yeah.
They have like a whole, like one quarter of this mall parking lot.
Oh wow.
The whole thing, like probably no joke, probably 600 parking spaces, and they just have their like in and out ropes for the 3 drive-through lanes. It is crazy how long it is. Like you can fit like probably 400 cars in line.
All right.
It's nuts.
Here's my two most recent In and Out hacks. Get your notes ready.
Okay.
First one's a calorie hack. I found out that the cheese from In and Out is like 150 or 200 calories or something. So
Wow.
if you just get one slice of cheese,
Yep.
you're cutting out like over 100 calories.
Nice.
And so I get my animal fries without cheese on it, and I'm pretty sure it's cheaper to do it that way as well because it's fries with spread and onions. And
Yeah.
the second one is how they have those little yellow chilies by the ketchup station.
Yeah.
You can get those on your burger. So you just ask for chopped chilies, so they'll chop them up, and then they'll put them on your
Oh,
burger, and it's
awesome.
so good.
Okay, I got one for you too. Uh, you probably know this already, but they'll mustard fry your patty if you ask them to too. So they put the
I've heard
mustard
of
in.
that one. Not a fan.
Yeah, okay. I love that. I love the Flying Dutchman with one slice of cheese. That is
Uh,
probably my
Flying
favorite
Dutchman
thing.
is the onion
Mm-mm.
burger.
It's 2 patties and 2 slices of cheese with the cheese in the middle. But
Okay, so I've heard that somebody told me this last week was a Flying Dutchman was you can get an onion instead of the bun, and so it's just like an onion bun. Like
that might be like protein style or something, maybe that where they
protein
do the
styles
lettuce.
wrapped in lettuce.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one, but yeah, I've been doing the Flying Dutchman. I did when I was carnivore diet. I did that like twice a week, the Flying Dutch.
Wow.
And then I saw recently on Instagram, haven't confirmed in person, they do burritos now. Secret menu. You have to ask
Uh,
for the burrito. Is it a lie?
yeah,
I figured.
huge lie.
Those bastards.
There was somebody that said In and Out serves chicken now. Is
Yeah,
this
it
like
was
a
that
real
same
thing?
guy. He's like, dude, they have chicken now. You just get, you get the double chicken, double cheese, and or you can get it the chicken burrito. And I was like, dude, I'm heading there now. And I was like, this is
It's
probably
not
fake.
true.
Yeah, people are
Sorry.
people are awful.
All right. Well, we left some meat on the bone this week, but we went over an hour, and so we're set for next week whenever we get going.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, this was a fun one. Mom's gonna like this one.
Oh, mom's gonna love this one. I think she's still watching. She hasn't said anything yet.
All right. Well, let's start posting these on our Instagram. Get some, maybe 1 or 2 more viewers.
All right. I will if you will.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely will.
All right. I'll tag me in it so I can just hit the share to your story button.
Yeah, perfect.
All
Sick,
right.
dude.
Love you, mom.
Love you, mom. See you, dude.